Sometimes we intercept students on their way to school. Today we intercepted the superintendent. Stu Albaugh is with us, Harmony School District Superintendent, and one of the folks involved with the PIAA Equity Group. This is the group of superintendents and athletics officials at schools all across Pennsylvania now who are concerned with the way the PIAA playoff system is set up, the boundary and non-boundary schools. The issue has been battled back and forth. That's a field that has been littered with bodies for years and years. Stu, good morning.
Good morning, Todd. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, last week you met, along with others, with the State Legislative Oversight Committee at Heinz Field. There was a hearing conducted on this dispute.
Yes.
And let's start by getting your overall impressions of what happened there at Heinz Field.
Well, I think that we were, first of all, given a voice to be heard and an opportunity to express our concerns. And I think a couple positive things came out of that. First of all, the PIAA has been steadfast that they are not going to take this issue on because they feel that it is a legislative issue, that the 1972 law, I think it's 2104, prohibited them from separating public, non-public, boundary, non-boundary schools. And through the testimony and following the presentations, the committee admitted that they need a legal interpretation from the Legislative Council. Mm-hmm. So I think finally we're going to have an official, this is what the law says. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how much you want to get into the law, but before Governor Shapp signed it in October, there were actually 4 proposed versions, one of which in July of 1972 specifically stated about public, non-public schools participating in playoffs. Uh-huh. And that was amended or revoked. The law that Governor Shapp signed just basically says that non-public schools are to be members or considered members of the PIAA.
So at the hearing last week, it was put out there by the Legislative Oversight Committee that if they investigate this, which ultimately they decided they would do,
yes,
to seek the opinion, they're actually going to go into those discussions, the debates, all of the paperwork that went into making that law the law that it is.
Well, yes and no, because we were instructed, after Dr. Lombardi and the PIAA Executive Committee did their presentation, we were asked, did anyone follow the formal procedure of requesting this? And while there has been multiple informal presentations to the PIAA, informal discussions, no one has ever formally petitioned until now. So the very next day, Thursday, following the hearing, or I'm sorry, Wednesday following the hearing, I submitted to Bill Marshall, who is the superintendent of Penn Cambria and the District 6 PIAA representative, and also Ms. Leanne Wenzel of Ridley School District in the eastern side of the state, who is the superintendent's representative to the PIAA, a formal petition requesting that the classifications be separated 1 through 4 for your traditional boundary schools and 5 and 6 for your non-traditional, non-boundary schools or non-public schools. So that formal request has gone in. Ms. Wenzel did call me to tell me that she received it and that she has put it forward to be discussed on the agenda. Okay. So we'll see where that goes. The whole point of this is the the Legislative Oversight Committee has started the process of the investigation but they are going to wait and see what action the PIAA takes. We were a second point that we thought was positive is if the PIAA does not respond, if they don't take this on or at least discuss it, then the oversight committee agreed that they would come back to the table and actually discuss the leadership of the PIAA.
Oh, okay.
So I think the idea that they can do what they want to do because they always have is
eroding.
Yes, very good word, eroding. And I think the PIAA realizes that this is not something they're going to be able to just sweep under the rug.
Yeah, that accountability has really never been a factor. It's never been a part of the equation. The PIAA has seemed to be able to operate out on its own island. And because of what you just said a couple of moments ago, they've always said it's the legislature's problem. The legislature has always said it's yours.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And now there's a discussion. And I think that's the key to this is all of the entities involved need to sit down and have a discussion. And I think, and I don't want to tell Lombardi how to do his job, but if I were the executive director, I would be bringing representatives from the public school superintendents, representatives from the non-public schools, representatives from the charter schools, and representatives from the legislature together to discuss this in an open forum and come up with some type of a compromise. Because it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And, we conducted a survey we sent it out to all 501 public schools. And it actually got to some charter school executives also. Of the 501 traditional public schools, we had approximately 350 responses. 225 were in favor. I'm sorry, 325 were in favor of
overwhelming
separate playoffs.
Yeah. One of the other alternatives that I have always advocated for is, since Harmony School District, for instance, might have a cooperative agreement with Purchase Line School District where Harmony athletes play for a Purchase Line sports team, and the way the rules are written, then Harmony's enrollment is counted with Purchase Line's enrollment, and that has the potential to kick it up to another classifications. Why then could not, say, a Bishop Carroll based in Evansburg have as its foundation the Evansburg market, the same foundation as Central Cambria, which is right next door, and if they get a player from Portage onto their roster, then the Portage enrollment counts against theirs. If they get another player from say Blacklick Valley, their enrollment counts against theirs, and all of them be added up so that they are treated equally, just as the public schools are with those cooperative agreements. That's never really been a factor in these discussions, which has always puzzled me.
Well, we actually brought that up to the committee. The way the rule reads is if I go into a cooperative agreement with, like you said, Purchase Line, 50% of my population goes with that, which could raise Purchase Line from, say, a 1A to a 2A or 2A to a 3A school. However, for the Catholic schools or the non-public schools, that does not occur. And we said we think that is unfair. And I know that what you're saying, when you look at Bishop Carroll, who gets kids from Portage, Evansburg, Blacklick, Indiana, if they had to count half, even if it's only 50% of the population, that would take them up in classifications.
Yeah.
So, that's an issue, as well as the idea that we now have, and I don't think that when they passed the law in 72, anyone envisioned this, but you now have non-public schools with students from not only multiple school districts, but multiple states and multiple countries. attending them.
And they're all blended together in the playoff formats.
Exactly. And that is our main argument. Why should a Harmony that has 136 total students in its high school, 7 through 12, have to play a school, I won't mention its name, but near Erie, that has 3 students from Ohio playing on their football team, 2 students from Canada playing on their football team? We can't recruit that.
Yeah.
So, the idea that they have to look at not only the playoff format, but are we creating a scenario where athletics has taken over the educational focus?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to get onto the CBS Sports Minute and news coming up, but thanks for coming in today. There are solutions out there, aren't there, Stu?
Oh, I think there's multiple solutions, and I think it just is going to take a discussion of all the entities involved,
and a few open minds.
Hopefully, they'll listen this time.
We appreciate your visit this
Thanks,
morning.
Todd.
Stu Albaugh with us, Harmony School District, and of course the PIAA Equity Group as well. We'll get him in here again because this is always a fascinating conversation.